Okay, we are live. Let's get some of these settings changed here. All right, I'm on the right brushes. So I was thinking about this actually earlier today. I didn't have a chance to stream uh, yesterday; just wasn't going the way I thought. But I started thinking about this next page, page 5. So where we ended on page 4, they found this guy at the end of the hall in the cave, and he's saying, "Please help me." And I want to do a little retconning because I had the idea of having this guy wearing a mask. Um, and then, and the main reason is because I think it'll make for a cool. Actually, we can keep these eyes the same. I think it'll make for a cool horror moment that I have in mind. So I don't got to get too detailed on this mask because it's way in the distance on this panel. Let's see. I don't even know if I want it. I don't think I want it to have a nose. Let's see. I think that works. You're really not, especially once it's printed. I mean, printed size is going to be like this. Man, I've got cats going nuts on the other side of my door. We have a new kitten, and I'm letting her wander around and get used to the other cats, and he does not want to be alone. All right, so I've added that mask. So now let's go to page 5 and continue this story. Let's drag the template in here. Blam. All right. So I think I'm actually just gonna sketch out some of this dialogue. So we've got him. Help me. It's misspelled what? So so we've got what's wrong? Are you hurt? This is gonna clearly be coming from Audrey. What would Dad be saying? I love your hat. So what I'm thinking is let's make another layer because I don't want to. I want to keep these this quick dialogue writing down. I want to keep it separate. So what I'm thinking is our guy on the ground. He's gonna be here in the foreground. Let me look at this again. So he's kind of leaning the other direction. Uh, Again, If anybody's been following along, this is my, I don't know, fourth or fifth panel where I'm having to draw this back three quarters uh, head of a character. And now I've got to add this weird wonky triangle hat to it. How does that look? Barely even see the guy's head anyway. Let's maybe make this a little bigger. Let's see. Let's add the actual, because I know that's where I want it to go. What's wrong? Are you hurt? Looks a little weird. Let's do it like that. Let's bold up that love. It sounds like a cheesy saying you'd find on a t-shirt. Bold up that love. Alright, I'm not going to do balloons yet. They're going to be here. Just kind of drawing this in my head. As usual, this part of streaming is always the hardest. Actually, like writing. Okay, so I love your hat. Okay. So, here's what I'm thinking. The ritual. Something wrong with the ritual. Something wrong with my face. What's wrong with my face? So just looking at this too, so what I'm thinking is for the second panel where he's kind of blabbering on about some sort of ritual. I wanted to add this mask because we're going to get to this horror moment, which is not really going to be revealed so much in this page. It's going to be more the next page, which hopefully we'll get to tomorrow. But he's going to be peeling this mask off, and it's just going to like ooze and stuff like that. So we're going to see like again, yay, another 3/4 of you. But yeah, it just hit me that we have this mask and he's taking this mask off and it's like gonna be kind of peeling his face off or something. I don't know. That's gonna be the fun of tomorrow. All right, so let's get the rest of this dialogue. Oh, and also this second panel, it's gonna kind of, even though it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with it, but it's gonna kind of mirror the page two panel. Let's click that up, where we've got Audrey looking dead ahead or looking up at Dad, and we've got the dialogue on both sides, and then Dad with the same thing. Um, and so this page is going to be similar to that. Um, let's get this dialogue typed in. I'm always hitting the G instead of the H when I'm typing. Didn't do it that time. Oh, I think I. Good Lord. Yeah, this will be a little different from that second page, but it'll be kind of similar. And this one. This will be bold. And let's do a little longer. And let's italicize it too. There we go. Alright, just like that, the dialogue is done. Let's get these balloons using curved balloon. Let's curve that up a little bit. Nice. That's all kinds of wonky. Right. So when I was originally thinking about throwing this guy in here when I did page 4, I was thinking maybe hey, maybe this will be a bad actor. I think I even mentioned it in the stream, and he's gonna trick them. Now I'm thinking, you know, obviously like what he said, something went bad with the ritual. I am a big fan of uh, horror with like occult rituals and Lovecraftian sort of monsters and cults. Right. So in the second panel, I'm gonna have to get more detailed with what that mask looks like. We don't need this layer anymore. That was with the original. That was with that original dialogue, which it did help doing that. I've been playing around with that with this other kind of project that I no idea where it's going on my iPad. I think I mentioned it the other day. It's another story. It's a story I've been messing around with. I'm also pretty much going into it um, stream of consciousness, and I think maybe the idea is if my time frame for this story is to have it ready for a book for Queen City Zine Fest, then maybe I put both of them in. I've just got this vision of having this big, thick, black and white printed book. So they're running up to him. Get some circles for hands. I don't know if that quite looks right. Mess around with it. I think I'm gonna have to back Audrey off a little more. She's maybe just a little bit taller standing than this guy is hunched over on the floor. Let's maybe angle her a little more so it looks more like she's running over. Let's move that arm up a little bit. This arm just looks all kinds of wonky. I think it's too big. Maybe. I obviously draw pretty cartoony, but I still like to be a little bit of some sort of perceived realism and stuff like that when it comes to the positions of the characters and the stuff like running and then making sure we're like this guy's obviously in the foreground. It should be all right. All right, I'm gonna do another layer though for Dad since he's gonna be in here. So what I was talking about that other story, I am doing like I've just been like writing real quick dialogue and stuff like that. And then going back in and doing using a font. And that's been helping a little bit with the writing. In fact, what I'm thinking about doing with that one, since I'm not streaming that or anything, and I think it's gonna end up being a little bit shorter. I'm thinking about going through and just knocking out like a lot of the writing and just trying to go really fast and then going back and uh, add in the drawing and stuff like that. The drawing for it, for whatever reason, I've only gotten one page done. I have a little more of an idea on where it's going. Kinda. That's probably being a little too optimistic, but uh, it'd be nice to get like really get the writing done on that one. So I've just got the inking and stuff, but yeah, that first page it took a little while to get done. But that's also kind of been for like this that project has been kind of um all right, I think I need to shrink him down a little bit. Um, that project has been kind of like my nighttime project. So I work mostly evenings, and so I'll get home, and it might be like two something in the morning when I'm getting into bed, and so it's a little more slow going. Not a huge amount of energy and stuff like that. Uh, let's separate these characters a little more. Let's see if I can move Mask Dude a little bit over. It's good. Let's move Dad a little bit over. Okay, that's good. All right, so let's think about this mask. I'm going to zoom in on the real quick little thing that I did. So I had the black eyes and everything. Okay. Just going to get the shape of the face for now. Let's bring this down a little bit. I don't think I need to show his whole head. That is the one thing about a character like this where he's got this big ridiculous triangle hat. I don't need to get all of it. In there. And again, I mentioned on a previous stream when I think a lot of us talk about cartooning and a lot of it I agree with, but having space for all the characters with all the word balloons and all this, and for whatever reason I've seen a lot of stuff about people talking about characters speaking off of off panel and not knowing who's talking, which I think is really kind of a really kind of a disservice to the reader, that they're not smart enough um, to pick that up. Um, but anyway, my whole point with kind of cramming stuff in, I don't think it's as important as everybody makes it out to be. Um, and the reason is you can see manga break these rules all the time, and it doesn't seem to matter. Oh, I think I heard some thunder. Might have a storm brewing outside. We had a crazy storm here on Friday. I hope it doesn't get that crazy tonight. But I have not seen lightning like that in forever. Uh, the sky was like non-stop flickering. You know what? Let's put this, because I just know I'm going to screw it up a million times. Let's put this hand. We're going to have his hand kind of going towards his face. And let's make it. I want to make his hands, because I think the whole thing is like his whole body is just wrecked by whatever happened with this ritual. And I'm just gonna give him little beady eyes in here. Or maybe I'm not, because he's really talking about his face. Urgh. Oh, yeah. And even though these word balloons are kind of crammed in there with him, I think that'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. I think it works. And I think if this were not like a if you were seeing this in manga, I don't even think there would be balloon tails going to this guy's mouth. It'd just be there. You just know. They do much less prominent balloon tails. Which I still stick with pretty standard balloon tails. I like to take... let's do this on another layer. I like to take elements from just all kinds of different art and comics. And we're going to do another backward 3/4 view. So this is going to show from the back him taking this mask off. Now normally I'd probably do this all like I want to have all this gooey stuff coming off his face like it's stuck to the mask. It's gonna be so gross. It's gonna be great. But they're already in a dark area, so I'm actually gonna do it all white, like cutting into that black area. Just going to erase that so I don't get so confused. Yeah, and I'm just putting this word balloon right over top of him. Again, I think that's something you would see in in manga. Maybe not recent manga, maybe more older manga, but I don't know. That's a problem. I read mostly older manga. I love to read Junji Ito. I've been trying to get my hands on as much Umez as I can. Which is much older than Junji Ito. Alright, so his thumb will be going around like that. And so it's going to be kind of like, I'm probably just going to do all of this in white. We'll see how it works. Just going to make that really gooey. And that probably should have a... Oh, you know what? Would make it really kind of stand out. Yeah. There we go. Alright, so let's erase some of this. I'm just going to redo it so I don't get confused. Just widening that distance between the face and the mask coming off. And then Alright, this should have a sound effect. Let's put that on another layer. What's a good mask ripping off of a face sound effect? I'm going to go with Schlorp. I'm going to do a lot of this lettering in the quote-unquote digital, well, quote-unquote ink drawing. Digital drawing. Okay, so if we've got that, I'm trying to decide if do I need Audrey and Dad here in the background, kind of watching this happen? And I'm also thinking when Dad comes up and he's like, I love your hat. Should he be like, sweet hat and mask? Nah, I'm going to keep it. Nah, I ain't going to put it on there. Let's put it on there. I love your hat and mask. We're going to have to change that word balloon. Oh. Oh. Oh, maybe I don't need to change that word balloon. Yeah, I'm gonna change it. Am I? Nah, it's good. So they'd be roughly there. Technically, they would be closer. But if I want to fit them into frame, let's see how that looks. If I just do a quick. I'm going to make some faces. Always make faces when I'm drawing the faces. Or I do a lot, especially when I'm doing stuff that maybe I haven't drawn before. Make that a little smaller, maybe? I don't want to go too small. Real sketchy here. I just want to see if I want them in this shot or not. Yeah, I think I do. We're going to move Dad up a little bit, though. He'd be more like here. having a scene like this, this is where I get this happened at the last show I did, which was last weekend. Eddie Pecan. I know I've mentioned it a bunch, and me and Levi have got a wrap up video that'll be coming out fairly soon. Um, ah, wrong brush. But a common comment on my work is cute but disgusting or disturbing or something like that. And I mean, I love to have horror elements in all my work. Like I said, I'm a big Junji Ito fan. Uh, just big horror fan. Not a huge gore fan, actually. I mean, it's I don't know. It's a weird line for me. That looks about right. It's a weird line for me. I do like gore, but I like gore when it's really cheesy, and I can tell it's fake. Things that are super violent, that are very realistic, actually just really disturb me, and I it's hard for me to watch. Not a fan of violence in real life. Yeah, I guess in my media for sure. Um, but yeah, but I like mixing. I like mixing the cute and the macabre and just gross stuff. I'm a huge fan of like Jonah Vasquez's work with Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and what he did with Invader Zim and like Edward Gorey and things like that. Um, Geez, when I was in my early 20s, I would get. Uh, I think it was a little more obvious my love for Jonah Vasquez's art. A lot more of you could see a lot more of his influence. I think it's still there in my work, but I don't think it's as pronounced. Um, Need to make this look right. Here's like right there. So the mask is gonna be there. You know what? Let's have it actually tied. Yeah, and I think the web comic I did called Kitty Litter. There's a lot of Invader Zim influence in there because it was a mad scientist cat. I think I might need to move this ear back. Let's see. Yeah. So I can give this guy hair. That's what I was trying to figure out. When I was doing it as more of like an Aleister Crowley clone, I was like, no, we're going to make him bald, but for this, I don't think it matters. So we're going to give a little bit of hair in there. I think I did. I used a zip tone or screen tone for this, so we'll have a screen tone on there. Alright, it's not super duper important. Where are we at time wise? Not even an hour. Not even an hour, and we're into inking. I'm into inking. I'm always every time we start. I see, and I did it every time I start streaming. I start saying we. I guess because I'm imagining people watching it, and we're all working together. Oh. I feel like this drawing of Audrey might be rough. You know, another, speaking of cute and kind of disturbing art, I'm also a big fan of Junko Mizuno. She's more known as a fine artist now, but she does have manga and stuff out there. Um, she did some. She did some like retellings of fairy tales. She did Hansel and Gretel and The Little Mermaid. Oh, what was the other one she did? She did another one. I cannot remember right now. It'll come to me. Cinderella. Bam. Got it. But yeah, she mixes a lot of cute and disturbing. But she's known more now as a fine artist, and I love her. I love her artwork. It's like a dark, I don't know, dark chibi kind of style. I'm gonna have to mess around with this as I make this whole area black. But I discovered Junko Mizuno and Junji Ito pretty much at the same time. There was this, and there's a video all about it on my YouTube channel, Comics in the Making. Which, if you're watching the playback of this, that's kind of a redundant statement because it's on YouTube. But if you go through, you can find a manga episode where I pretty much teach Levi a little bit about manga. I'm not an expert by any means. I like that drawing of Audrey more than I thought I was going to. All right, cool. But anyway, yeah, no, I discovered Junji Ito and Junko Mizuno pretty much at the same time. There was this magazine called Pulp, which Viz put out, and I think it was it. Well, I don't think it was their attempt at getting alternative manga the same kind of audience that its shonen manga and shoujo manga was getting. So at the time, this would have been the late 90s, early 2000s, I think. And manga was definitely starting to pick up steam with like Dragon Ball and Ranma and stuff like that. And at the time they were actually publishing Shonen Jump in America, although it was all like older stuff. It had like Dragon Ball and Shaman King and Yu Yu Hakusho, stuff like that. And I'd get it every once in a while. But when I saw Pulp, I was instantly like, "Oh, this is for me," because I've always liked alternative comics more than anything else. And they were running some. They were running some Junko Mizuno in there. I think it was Hansel and Gretel. And they were also running um, Uzumaki, which I think is it's probably my favorite Junji Ito story, like at least like big long form story. Although I mean I don't know, I like a bunch of them, but yeah, I'd probably go with Uzumaki being my favorite. It's got a real it's got a real weird Lovecraftian ending. That I love. It does not necessarily end where you think it's going to, which a lot of his stuff is like that. And he's a big fan of Lovecraft, and I love weird. I don't do it all the time, but I love weird kind of open ended cosmic horror type endings. Boy, do I get shit online when I do it. That's not necessarily true. Well, it's not true. It's not like everybody does. I remember the bad reviews, I guess, or the negative comments. But I like to do every once in a while. I like to do Twilight Zone sort of type endings, or just weird cosmic horror type endings. And man, some people just really want that. They want everything tied up in a bow. And I'm not like that. All right, let's fix some of this up. It's a little wonky. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, but I remember the first time I saw uh, that Junji Ito art, Uzumaki in pulp. Uh, I was uh, I was kind of disturbed. God, that looks stupid. Oh, that hair looks stupid. I'm gonna have to fix this up before I finish my thought. 'Cause that's gonna aggravate me. Yeah, I remember being yeah, really just kind of disturbed by the images in pulp from Uzumaki. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, if you don't know, Uzumaki is about a town that's cursed by spirals. And so there's some scenes where, like, I mean, people are just kind of turned into spirals, and there's this part where this like guys, I don't know, I think he kind of got like turned into a snail or something, and his whole body was kind of like curled around, and there were people that were turned into like human Jack in the Boxes and stuff, and it's just kind of some disturbing imagery. But something, as disturbed as I was, it was something that I kind of couldn't look away. And, and I think I never got all of the pulp issues. They weren't as easy to find as a Shonen Jump or something like that. But every time I would get one, uh, and let's draw a spiral because we're talking about Uzumaki. Every time I would get one, the Junji Ito story was the first. It was the first thing I would jump to, even though I was so disturbed by it. And then when Viz finally started coming out with, I mean, they came out with a 3 volume collection of Uzumaki first. Now they just have it in like just one big omnibus. Um, and so I had all three of those. Uh, I don't have those versions anymore. I've rebought it in the omnibus version now. But yeah, as soon as those started coming out, I got them. I had to get them, and ever since then I've been anything Junji Ito I get. I have all of his books. I think the only thing I'm missing is his art book. I think it's called like Twisted Visions or something like that. And I'll get it one day. But what's more important to me are the comics. I want the stories, and his stories are just so weird. I love his short stories. I'm actually more of a fan of his super his like 10-page, 20-page, 30-page stories. That's what I love about it. They're just so weird, and not that his long ones aren't weird either. Actually, that's why I can't 100% say Uzumaki's my favorite because I love Gyo so much. Um, his book Gyo is just great. Um, and spoiler alert, but it's like a 500-page long fart joke, and it's just got some of the best body horror. I've got a Gyo shirt that I love, and I know it freaks people out when they see it. It's kind of disturbing. I still hear that thunder. Mm, I don't know if I'm getting that good, weird, wonky perspective on this one that I was getting with the previous page, but it's all right. Here's the other thing about making about making comics is you're gonna spend all this time on a page. I mean, the average of most of these pages I've been doing for this project have been about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, which is pretty, pretty fast for comic making, and actually kind of fast for me. There's some pages that take way longer than that for me. Um, so you're spending all of this time on these pages. Sometimes just that much time on specific panels, and the reader's gonna read it in seconds. Seconds. And I don't think that means you spend less time on them or anything. Because what's the point? But I do think um, it is important to note that yeah, that's how long most people are gonna take to read it. So, does it really have to be perfect? And to go back to the manga, a lot of the mangaka they're on crazy deadlines, and so there's a lot of times where they will go back and they'll fix things from previous chapters, like when it's collected into a tankobon. But sometimes when they're coming out in those weekly magazines, you'll see a lot of wonky art because they're doing 16 pages in a week, which is crazy. Even if you've got assistants, that's always the big caveat I hear from people. Yeah, but they got assistants. Well, it's true, but they're still doing a ton of the drawing, ton of the work. They're doing the writing. No one ever talks about the writing. If you look, there's a schedule that's floating around. It's been on the internet for a while of Oda's schedule from One Piece. And one, he only sleeps like 3 or 4 hours a day, which is not good for you at all. Uh, but a lot of his week in the schedule is writing, because writing, yeah, drawing takes a long time, but writing to is not only time consuming, but you have to have an idea. You need to make it flow. It's the most important part. And this project that I'm doing right here is everything. uh, is going against all of that because you know, I don't know where it's going, and I've got some ideas for it. Obviously, I was thinking about this page and went back and was like, oh, let's give him a mask and stuff like that. But it was really just to get to this visual, this horror moment for the next page where this mask is peeling off, or we see the reveal. We see it peeling off here at the end, but we're gonna see the reveal. Um, um, but typically when I'm writing, the writing takes a while, and I I spend a lot of time on the writing. I want there to be a little bit of cleverness to most of my stories. We'll see if that happens with this one. I think I want the designs on this mask, make it similar to the symbols that we're seeing on the cavern walls. In fact, let's put that spiral that I've drawn a few times. I don't think I don't. Well, right now I'm making this as symmetrical as possible, but I'm not sure that's really going to have to be a rule. Yeah, it's looking all right, I guess. Show just a little bit of. Oh, that was a good thunder right there. Show just a little bit of teeth and goo coming off. Now I want this. That's a trick when you're drawing a mask. You want it to look like a mask. I don't want someone to confuse it for a face. Which I kind of cheated here throwing that in. That's part of the reason I threw it in here. Having Dad say, uh, "I love your hat and mask." But I'm gonna add a few like kind of scratches and stuff like that on here to give it a little bit of make it look like it's some sort of wood or metal or something, some sort of fabricated object. Give it a little bit of grain. Going back to mangaka's crazy schedules, I'm always reminded of. I don't have a lot of his work. I have some, but one of my he's one of my favorites. I just need to get more of his stuff. But Shigeru Mizuki. Um, he was pretty outspoken about his about how the mangaka schedule was just insane and ridiculous, and he did not work um, at least his entire life on that kind of a schedule. Um, but would frequently talk about how a lot of his friends were dead. And you'll see that a lot. You see a lot of mangaka die very young. Because they're spending almost all of their time sitting down and working, and that's just not healthy. And I'm not the greatest example of that though. I don't spend all my time sitting down and stuff. I do have a job where I'm running around quite a bit, so that helps. Mm. And it is one of those things where I um, actually think about like what how if this was all I was doing, how would I handle that? Man, I do try and be a little more try and be a little more active. I like to skateboard, and honestly, I haven't been able to. Well, that's not true. I've totally been able to, but I haven't skateboarded in a while. Not since the beginning of the year. It's just been so hot. It's been so hot in the Carolinas. So I think I'm gonna make this area where this is getting peeled off of his face. I think it's gonna be kind of like a negative silhouette. Talking about my health as I vape. I think I've told this story on the main YouTube channel before. Let's see, and I'm going to do a lot of this work just once I fill this black in. Yeah. I think I've told this story before, but years ago, I found myself, I had left a job that I had actually had for over 20 years, at least in that company. And for about, it was about 3 months, I was out of a job. And of course, I was looking for another one. But if I'm being honest, the first month of that uh, probably probably was not looking as hard as I should. I just kind of needed a break, I guess. Um, and so for that time period, I was pretty much a full time cartoonist, and honestly, I was trying to make that work. I was trying to sell stuff on my Etsy store and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it didn't, obviously didn't really work. I think part of the problem too was I wasn't focusing on the right stuff. I was trying to draw, or I was trying to sell a bunch of like original art and stuff like that, and I did sell some, but not a lot, and certainly not enough to live on. And I think I was focusing more on that because not a lot of cost in it. I mean, I could have a piece of paper and draw on it, and you know, if I want to sell books like I do now, well, there was cost involved, and there was way more risk because I would have to pay for those books and then have to hope I could get my money back and stuff like that. And so I was not willing to go that route at that point, or I was way more nervous, and I just knew the margins on that are just are really low. But now, I mean, the margins are still low. But on my books now that I sell, I mean, I get close to breaking even, or I break even. I've definitely broke even on some of my books, and I mean, in turn small profits. So that's gotten better. Anyway, the whole point of me telling this was going back to the health of mangakas. So I was every day I would kind of go into this room and I would just create for hours on end, and that was pretty much all I was doing. I certainly not exercising or anything like that, and honestly, I was probably after leaving that job was because it had been such a big part of my life. I mean, like I said, 20 something years in that company. And for it just to be gone. And spend all that time. And so I just, I'm coming in here, I'm creating, I'm drawing, I'm living um, what I always thought was my dream. Even though I'm not making the money, but it's like that's my life. At least at that point was just creating. And when I left that job, I was a 34 waist. By the time I got a new job, only 3 months later, I was a 36. I had gained that much weight. And I don't mean like, oh, these are kind of tight now. I mean, it was like I could not fit into my 34s. And I had lost a bunch of weight. And actually, I used to be a 36. I'd been a 36 for a while. And I lost a bunch of weight and went and bought a bunch of 34s. And yeah, after that 3 months, I was back to 36s. And then eventually 38. Although I'm pretty much 36 now. Well, my point is, careful what you wish for. Or just take care of yourself. Because, I mean, what good's. Uh, what good is sitting in a room and creating if all of a sudden you can't enjoy it, or you die? Mm. Hear that thunder? It's Labor Day weekend. And I have a rare Sunday where I've got no one at home. My daughter is spending the night at a friend's house. And my wife is working late. Which is part of the reason I'm streaming now. Figure, hey, what the hell? Let's get this going. To be fair, there's other stuff I should be doing. It really is. But this is what I wanted to do right now. All right. So I'm gonna have to do a lot of work cutting away stuff. Got a hole somewhere. There it is. There we go. So this is where I think really gonna see this, I hope, come to life. Ah, Mm-mm. This is not looking how I want it to look. Which I knew. I knew this was going to take some finagling. Sorry, I'm getting quiet with this, but this is usually inking. You don't have to think too hard, but because I'm doing so much of the drawing here. All right, this is coming together. Oh man, this is whew. This might be darker than I was expecting it to be. Uh, I think I like it though. uh, yeah. So since I'm all by myself tonight, when I get done with this stream, I'm making sloppy Joe. My wife will eat sloppy Joe. She's not a huge fan, and my daughter doesn't like it at all. So it's kind of my go-to. I'm home alone. I'm home alone and I'm making sloppy Joe. And I figured I would do this stream before I did that because I was like, it'll make me want to work even faster if I'm a little bit hungry. I don't think I'm going to put these symbols here in the back because I think that's going to take away from the guy ripping his face off. And we don't want to take away from the guy's face getting ripped off. I have some brushes that do like some splatter effects. Um, but honestly, never super satisfied with them. I'm trying to decide. I had said I was going to do this whole thing as like a silhouette sort of thing. I'm just adding a little bit to that mask. See if that's what I wanted to do. Which actually, he would have like a spot for his nose. Again, I'm doing all of this line work with the same brush. So all of these fine lines, I'm just I'm going a lot lighter with the pressure. All right, I think I'm gonna leave it. I think I'm gonna leave it there. I'm still trying to decide. Trying to decide if I like those lines on the mask or not. And it might be something I leave for now and I think about. So all we have left is screen tones. Which the only screen tone I think we really got is the 10 screen tone. I'm going to erase a little bit right there to give it a little bit of highlight. Let's make sure I did use a screen tone on there. And give that a little bit of highlight there. And I think with this scene, this super gross out, gory scene, I think it's really going to where I want the feel for this book that I have in mind. I want it to just feel kind of grungy and stuff. I think it works. There's also a scene in. Oh, I was drawing her heart as black. Okay, so I've got to go in there and fix that. There's also a scene in the other story I'm working on my iPad where a face gets ripped off. But it's a different situation. Definitely some correlation, I guess. Maybe that's what I'll keep that in mind when I name this collection. All right, let's get some ink fade on here. Background. And that was a kind of nice surprise I realized in that last page where I was trying to get these symbols to look like they were glowing. And this ink fader was incidentally kind of making that happen. Let's cut this panel off or out of there. Let's get some ink fade on the eyes there. I'm probably going to mess around with this page a little bit more off the stream. But not too much. Hey, that's the wrong color. Let's make it black. He needs eyebrows. It's wrong. If you're not making noises when you draw, you're doing it wrong. I don't make the rules. And now we just need to... We gotta get our page 5 on here. Let's get this up top. This is the kind of stuff, doing the, like the page number at the end. That's the kind of stuff that, gives me good, I don't know. I don't know what the word is. For me, it's a good conclusion to a page, putting that page number in. It's, all right, page number's in there. That's the last thing we do. This page is done. This house is clear. All right. So that's it. Let's save this up. Actually, I gotta save page 4 too. All right. Page 5 of Streamed of Consciousness is done. I am going to have to name this story eventually, but we're just going to keep going and see what happens. All right. Until then, I'll see you for page 6.